welcome into the backfield. I'm your host, Connor Schaff, and today I will be giving you my Week 1 college football top 25 rankings. Now before we get into it, talk a little bit about my criteria for my rankings, just because I haven't done a video on this channel regarding my college football top 25. I have on a different channel, but welcome in if you are coming from there, and we will get right into it. So, pretty much my philosophy regarding ranking teams is that I honestly do not care if you lose a game if you play well against a good team. So you are going to see 3 teams that lost games still be ranked very high in my rankings because they also played very good teams. I'm a firm believer that you should not hurt teams' resumes when they play good teams. It should not be harmful for a team to be willing to play a good team in week 1. We should promote this more, and that's a great way to do that, is to give these teams their props just for being willing to play these teams and to play them as close as they did. Another thing I want to quickly say is that I also am a firm believer if you play a not so good team and look awful, then I'm not going to rank you. There's nothing that you have shown me that shows me that you deserve to be ranked. And there's a particular team, I'm sure you can see it on your screen right now, that I do not have this team or the team they played ranked, because I do not believe the team that won that game is a top 25 team, and because of that, I also don't believe the team that lost that game deserves to be a top 25 team at the moment. And at any point, I'm open to being proven wrong. I hope these teams recover, do well. Most of the time, there are some teams I really don't like, but on a general level, I do hope these teams do well. I hope they get back into form, but that is just my criteria for ranking these teams. Let's get into it by first talking about the teams that missed out. There we go. And we start by talking about these teams that just missed out on my top 25, and we'll start with the 2 glaring ones here, and that is Alabama and Florida State. Obviously, Florida State, in very impressive fashion, took down the Alabama Crimson Tide over the weekend, and what I would imagine is the biggest upset over the weekend. I'm trying to think if there's another one I can think of off the top of my head, but it's just not it just wasn't in any way an impressive performance from Alabama. And you know what was so bizarre about the performance is Alabama just didn't look like they cared in the way that an Alabama team used to care. And maybe that's coaching. Obviously, you lose Nick Saban 2 years ago. You bring Kalen DeBoer, and it just hasn't been the same since. And I'll be honest, I wasn't a Ty Simpson believer coming into the season. I'm still not now. And yeah, I think there are some serious concerns with Alabama this year. And then Florida State, they win the game. They look good. If they string together a couple more wins, they will move back into the top 25. Or if Alabama recovers well, then both teams will move into the top 25 as long as they both stay undefeated. But for now, I just don't think I can rank them given the performance of Alabama and what my expectation for Florida State is. Then we have Indiana. Indiana is a team that a lot of people do have ranked, but I'll be honest, I don't think they played too well this weekend. They played Old Dominion, and it just wasn't a great performance. I want to say they won by 10, maybe 13 points. But it just wasn't a very impressive performance. Fernando Mendoza comes in, and as someone that you expect could be a number 1 overall pick, not a number 1 overall pick, a first-round pick in this upcoming year's draft, he just didn't really show out as much as you'd hope. Then we have the Mahomes copy team himself. The Mahomes copy himself's team, Nebraska, Dylan Raiola. I think this team's going to be pretty good this year. I don't think they showed enough in this Week 1 game to justify ranking them necessarily, but they do come out, beat Cincinnati. Dylan Raiola looks good, and that's about all you can ask in a Week 1 game. TCU comes out and absolutely smashes UNC. I didn't really have TCU too much on my radar, but I just feel like after having that performance against Bill Belichick and against such a highly touted UNC, or not a highly touted, such a highly prospected UNC team, you do got to give them their plaudits and put them in this just missed the cut. And then we have BYU. BYU recovers well after losing Jake Retzlaff. We'll talk about the team he's on now in just a moment, but they beat some sort of team, don't remember who, 69-0. Not sure what else you can ask for about from a team. They might be number 26 for me right now. They are very much on the outside looking in. So let's get into our top 25 with number 21 through 25. We'll go through these teams 5 by 5, starting with Tulane, who absolutely destroyed Northwestern over the weekend. They are the one non-Power 4 team I've ranked, especially after Boise State quite literally crapped the bed against South Florida. I think they lost 34-7. But Tulane wins, I think, 23-3 against Northwestern. Jake Retzlaff comes in, gets the job done. I think Tulane are, at the moment, the favorites to make the college football playoffs out of the group of 5. And honestly, I don't know how much competition they'll have. I just think they have by far the best quarterback and by far the best roster out of any team in the group of 5 at the moment. At 24, we have Iowa State. Iowa State's a team last week I ranked quite a bit higher, and you might question, how do I have them moving down so much after they win a game 55-3? And that is because Kansas State looked awful. And Kansas State beats North Dakota 38-35, the same margin of victory that Iowa State beat Kansas State by. So it makes the win look quite a lot less impressive, and it makes me a little concerned for Iowa State, but I still do have them ranked. I think they have a good team this year, and I think they'll probably be okay in the end. I think you might be a little concerned because there are a couple teams in the Big 12 that have looked very, very good to start off this season. We'll talk about them in a little bit here. But yeah, I still think you're optimistic if you're an Iowa State fan. Number 23, Ole Miss. I didn't have them ranked last week just because a couple of teams I have ranked fell out. They move in. They got the job done. Their new starting quarterback looks decent. We don't really know anything about this team until they play a better team. Georgia Tech, I think, had one of the more impressive performances, and same with our number 21, Auburn, but we'll talk about Georgia Tech first. They go and beat Colorado in Boulder. Overall, this is the performance you want to see. Haynes King does the job at quarterback. He has an exceptional rushing game. I watched pretty much the game start to finish. It felt like Haynes King was rushing the ball every single play. And yeah, I think that this is a very optimistic performance for Georgia Tech. I imagine they'll be in that major second tier right behind Miami and Clemson in the ACC, along with teams like Florida State and Louisville. Then at 21, we have Auburn. Auburn ends up beating Baylor this weekend, 38-24. And Jackson Arnold looks good, but I think what's more impressive is their defense's performance. They do give up 24 points, but you think Sawyer Robertson, as highly touted of a player as he was coming into the year for Baylor, they completely shut him down and make him not really have a good game. He throws for a bunch of yards, but he doesn't really deliver on what you would hope he does. Now we have 16 through 20, starting off with Oklahoma at number 20. They get the job done against Illinois State, I want to say. I had them ranked last year. They just stay in the rankings. Texas A&M, I think they had one of the more concerning performances of the weekend. I had them ranked a little bit higher. I want to say 16 or 17, so I moved them down a little bit. They get the job done against UTSA, but it really wasn't a good start to the game. There was a point where I want to say it was a one-possession game, and maybe even the third quarter. But in the end, they do get the job done. Marcel Reed throws for 4 touchdowns during the game. He leads the team in rushing yards, which may or may not also be a concern. But I will have to say, shout out to Robert Henry Jr., the UTSA player. He rushed for 180 yards, somewhere in that range. Maybe 170, but it was an unreal performance from him. Next up, we have Michigan. Michigan also had a bit of a scare against New Mexico. they do end up winning the game by 3 touchdowns with your freshman starting quarterback. Bryce Underwood, and he has a decent game. He threw for, I want to say, like 250 yards, at least a touchdown. It got the job done. You really want to see what he can do against a better team, against a Big Ten opponent. Then we have SMU. SMU gets the job done against a bad team. Not much to talk about there. Tennessee, they look very, very good. They go to Syracuse, absolutely destroy them this weekend. Joey Aguilar had a very good game. For a player that you are pretty considerably concerned about what he can give to you this season, he definitely showed out in game 1. And overall, it was just a complete performance from the team. So I definitely think if you're a Tennessee fan, you're pretty happy right now. Now we have 11 through 15, and here we have our 2 big risers, starting with Texas Tech, who honestly I was high on to start with. They go and destroy an FCS team, and I think this is just a team that I'm just more and more growing on. And there's just a lot to like with this team. They have a good coaching staff, a good roster. I don't know if they have enough to make the college football playoffs, but I do think this team will be good. And at number 14, this is a team I do think will make the college football playoffs at this point, and that is Utah. Utah goes into UCLA and absolutely crushes them. It wasn't even close. Nico Iamaleava, I won't say his name again to avoid making myself look like a 4-year-old, but yeah, they make Nico look awful. It wasn't quite incredible, to be honest with you. And I think Utah, they have to be one of the most confident teams in the country at the moment after that game. And I think it'll be very interesting to see if they can carry that form through the rest of the season, because that's something they've struggled with a little bit, is that they just fall apart down the stretch just a little bit. But I think you're quite optimistic if you're a Utah fan, and they are definitely in contention to win the Big 12. Number 13, we have Illinois. They play a garbage team, they win the game. Number 12, we have Florida. They play a garbage team, they win the game. So not too much to talk about there. I want to say they each moved up 1 spot just because I had Alabama falling out. Alabama, I want to say I had ranked at 11, so that's it for the fallers because of Alabama, or the risers because of Alabama. But we'll go ahead and talk about Notre Dame. And Notre Dame is the first of the 3 teams I mentioned before where I don't really care that they lost the game. They lost the game by 3 points against a veteran quarterback in Carson Beck. Obviously, there were some concerns about what Carson Beck can do in this Miami offense, but he gets the job done. I think you're content with CJ Carr's performance. I think, honestly, the thing you might be most concerned about if you are a Notre Dame fan is that Jeremiah Love didn't really do anything. He had some good plays in the passing game, but it just wasn't what you would expect out of a player that's been mocked to go in the first round by quite a lot of people. Moving into the top 10, though, we will start with South Carolina. South Carolina had a bit of a scare to start with, but South Carolina are a team I'm very, very high on. I am a firm believer in the Lenora Sellers. I'm on the Lenora Sellers hype train. I have had him as my number 1 overall pick since the end of the 2025 draft. He has been my guy. I trust him with the back of my hand. Hopefully he delivers for my sake. But yeah, he opens the game with an unbelievable drive down the field that struggles quite a bit in the mid portion of the game, but then pulls it back together, has a great performance to finish off the game. Arizona State also might have had a bit of a scare. I want to say they played Northern Arizona and won the game only by around 3 scores, which you would expect a little more when you're playing an FCS school as a top 10 team in the country. I think the thing that gives you the most optimism about this game was Sam Leavitt's rushing performance, but his pass performance left a little to be desired. He's another quarterback I'm very high on, so I do expect a little more. Next up, we have Clemson. Clemson drops from 3 to 8 for me. Once again, they play LSU close. It was probably out of the 3 top 10 losers. I thought Clemson played the worst, but Clemson are a team that I was high on in the first place, so I didn't drop them. I dropped them the most out of the 3 teams, but I didn't drop them behind Notre Dame, even though I thought Notre Dame played better against Miami than Clemson did against LSU. But Cade Klubnik does have some concerns. After that game, I just do not rate Cade Klubnik. I don't really see it with him, but I do trust Dabo Swinney as a coach. I think this team will get it together. There's no reason to think they shouldn't be in the ACC championship against Miami at the end of the year. So yeah, I don't think there's too much to take out that this is going to be a season-defining loss. Then we have Georgia. Georgia plays Marshall, wins. Obviously, there's not too much to take out of it. LSU, obviously, they beat Clemson. They look quite good. Garrett Nussmeier gets the job done. I think the defense is really the big takeaway. Harold Perkins really comes into his own during the game. He might be one of the biggest risers over the season into becoming a top pick. And it's good to see LSU back at the top here. But we'll move into our top 5 so I don't have to keep you for too much longer. I want to keep this video under 20 minutes. But number 5, we have Miami. Miami goes and beats Notre Dame. They look very good. Carson Beck gets the job done. I think you have to be very optimistic as a Miami fan after seeing that, after seeing what the defense was able to do for a lot of the game. There was just a lot of positive to take away. And you have a great rushing game, you have a great passing game, and it's just overall a performance you want to see against another top 10 team in week 1. Number 4, we have Texas. I had them at number 2, so I have them dropping down to number 4. Realistically, Texas were a goal line stop away from potentially winning this game, so I don't think you can be too harsh on Texas. I think the big concern here is that Arch Manning did not show out in any way in this game. It just was a really poor performance from Arch Manning, and hopefully it'll just come with time. It really is throwing your quarterback in the deep end, starting him versus Ohio State. And to be honest, Ohio State's freshman starting quarterback, Julian Sand, I know Arch Manning is a freshman, but Julian Sand didn't have a great game himself. So I think that you're okay knowing that there should be improvement throughout the season, and you still kept it a 1-possession game in the end at Ohio State. I think that we saw this week home field advantage be a huge factor, and I think that you're pretty content with your performance in that game. Oregon goes and crushes Montana State. Montana State obviously are one of the better FCS schools, but still, it is what it is. You looked good. Dante Moore, for his first start as an Oregon player, gets the job done. Not a ton to look into that. Ohio State obviously beats Texas, and I thought about putting them as the number 1 team, but given that, unlike with the AP poll, I didn't have Texas as number 1 team, I don't think my number 1 team did anything wrong to deserve losing that spot. But yeah, I think that Ohio State, you're happy with how they perform if you're an Ohio State fan. Julian Sand doesn't do anything impressive, really. I want to say he threw for like 120 yards and a touchdown, but didn't really make any mistakes either. So, yeah, it's what you want to see in week 1. You end the weekend on the happy side of the Ohio State-Texas rivalry, and that's all you can really ask for. And finally, we have Penn State at number 1. They were my number 1 team last week. They destroyed Nevada. They, in my opinion, are the best team in the country. They're my national championship pick at the moment. So, keeping them at number 1. But with that being said, that is all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to let me know your rankings in the comment down below, and let me know what you agree with, what you disagree with. Make sure to stay tuned, as I will be doing my NFL predictions, my week 1 preview over this week. As long as I have time, there is always the chance this stuff comes up. But That's all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching and have a good one. Bye.